Good morning, everyone. We're learning Tractate Shabbos, holding in the 16th chapter, page 120. And the name of the chapter is called Kisvei. We'll start with the Mishnah. Matzilin Sal Mole Kikoris. We save a basket full of loaves of bread, full of challahs in this case, for Shabbos. Even if it has 100 meals in it. Veigul shel dvelo, and cakes of figs. Vechavis shel yain, a barrel of wine. Morning. Ve'emer la'acherim bo v'atzil lochem, and he says to others, come and save for you as well. Ve'emer yupikchin, if they were smart. Oisimim cheshbon achar Shabbos, they make a cheshbon with him, make reckoning with him after the Shabbos for their wages as laborers, because they went and they saved his food.
Yeah.
Where do they drag this food? Wine, barrel of wine, cakes of figs. They send it. They take it to a yard, to a courtyard that were joined by Eruv. They have Eruv Chatzeros. Ben Besero Emer, Af L'Sheinu Me'oreves. According to Ben Besero, you can even take it to a courtyard whose houses were not joined in an Eruv. But L'Shom Moitzi Kol Klei Tashmishoy, and to there he takes all his utensils, all his that he needs to use for his meals, cutlery, tablecloth, table, utensils. Take all the clothing that he can wear. He wrap himself in all garments which he can wrap himself and walk out of the house with them. He is permitted to put on and remove from the house only 18 garments. He may return to the house, put on more clothing, and take it out of the house as well. He tells us, people, come and put clothing on yourself and bring it out. That's a Mishnah. Let's see the Gemara. But we just learned before, previous Mishnah, that you can only take 3 meals. How come Vetulo and not more? How come he can say over here you can take even 100 loaves of bread?
Right, that's an obvious question.
The big difference between here in the Mishnah, now Mishnah we're discussing a case where one comes to simply to save a basket of food from a burning house. Kan bevola kapel, where one comes to bundle together several baskets and remove them. Bo la'atzil matzil eskulam. If one comes to simply save a basket of food, he may save all the loaves in it. Bo la'kapel, and kapel amozin sholosh sudas. But if one comes to bundle together baskets of food and remove them, he may bundle and remove only enough for 3 meals. So we have lekapel, which means comes to bundle together several baskets and remove them. If one comes to simply save a basket of food, he may save all of the loaves in it. One who comes to bundle together a basket of food and remove them. Okay, so if you have a basket full of stuff, you can just take out the basket. But if you try to have 3 meals, you want to put 3 meals in a basket. That's all you can take.
Yeah.
Actually, both the Mishnah and the previous Mishnah were discussing a case where one comes to bundle together containers before removing them. He has an empty basket and he puts stuff in it.
Yeah.
He bundle things in the basket to take it out. Here in our Mishnah, we're discussing a case where the items are being removed to that courtyard Whereas in the previous Mishnah we're discussing a case where he takes it to another courtyard, and that's why there's more limitations. Only 3 meals. So if one spread his cloak on the ground, and bundled food and placed it on the cloak. And then bundled more food and placed it on the cloak. So this guy is using the cloak as a basket. He puts food in the cloak. This is similar to a case, one who comes to save, since he takes all the food out at one time in a single container, the bundled cloak, and it is therefore permitted for him to remove even more than 3 meals worth. Or kevol a couple dami, or is this case similar to that of one who comes to bundle together several baskets, since he exerts himself separately to bring each of the basket and empty them into the cloak? It would not be permitted to take out more food than needed for 3 meals. Midoma Rava, from the fact that Rava said, Ati Rav Shizvi Rav Chizda v'Dorash, Rav Shizvi misled Rav Chizda and expounded before regarding the brisa that states that one may place a utensil in the courtyard to catch wine leaking from a barrel that broke on the roof, provided he does not bring a utensil that holds more than 3 meals worth of wine. You may learn from this that one collects a large amount of food in one utensil is indeed like one who comes to save a basket previously full of bread. It is proper, permissible to remove even more than 3 meals worth. Having resolved the inquiry, the Gemara records the question asked to Rava when he made this statement. What is the mistake? How do you know that Rav Shizvi teaching is in error? Provided one is permitted to place a utensil under the barrel, provided he does not bring another utensil and catch wine with it. Or bring another utensil and hold it level with the roof wall to collect the dripping wine. This implies that it is only another utensil that one may not use to collect more wine. But in that single utensil that he is permitted to use, he may save as much wine as he wants.
So if you get an empty barrel, let it go into the empty barrel.
Exactly. This proves of Shizvi contention that one is restricted to saving 3 meals, even worth even a single utensil. This proves of Shizvi's contention that one is restricted to saving 3 meals worth even in a single utensil. Veigel shel dvelo, and round cake of pressed figs. One may tell others, come and save for yourselves. And if they were wise, they make a cheshbon with him, they make a reckoning with him after the Shabbos for their wages as laborers. They worked for him. They did a job on Shabbos for him. This reckoning of wages, what is its purpose? They have acquired the food from a state of ownerlessness, and they should be permitted to keep whatever they saved.
Yeah.
You know, there's a rule. Halacha, when the Gemara speaks about Elu Metzias, right? So what is a Metzia? What is considered a Metzia?
Yeah.
Is for example, if we both stand by a river, right? Okay, so the Gemara in Elu Metzias says, well, what does it mean Metzia? What does it mean I found it? How do you know if you can keep it or not keep it?
Okay, you got the 2 guys by the river.
So 2 people staying, okay?
Yeah.
You don't know how to swim, and I know how to swim.
Yeah.
So now your watch fell into the river, or your hat,
Yeah.
and I jump into the river, and I catch it.
Yeah.
Halachically, it's my hat.
Okay.
Why is it mine? Because you gave up hope.
Oh, right.
Immediately, when your hat or watch, whatever, falls into the river, since you don't know how to swim, and it's strong current,
Yeah.
water's flowing fast,
Yeah.
you say that's gone.
Yeah.
In your mind, it's gone. The fact that somebody was crazy enough to jump into the river and catch it, that's his thing. So a house is on fire. The guy knows that's it. He lost his house. There's nothing there. So if you run into that house and you save something from it,
It's yours.
he didn't. It's not. He gave up hope.
Yeah. What do you call it? I forgot the Hebrew.
Yeush.
Yerush, right? That's what.
Yeush. It's being in despair, giving up hope.
Yeah, you have the whole thing.
Meyash, Yeush.
You have the whole thing in the Baba. The Baba is about like.
Yeah, El Metzius, the
Baba Metzius, but somebody is just.
No. Yeah. Anyhow, what is it connected to here?
Yeah, because the guy who's in the house is burning up, and you get the food out of the
Right.
house. So why isn't the other?
So
guy
he says, why do they need to make a cheshbon? They acquired from a hefker. It's
Right.
ownerless.
Right.
So he says, Amidas Chasidus Shanukan. The sages taught here how one should act according to the characteristic of piety.
Yeah.
Amarav Chasidi Agro de Shabbos Shokle. Do pious people take wages? If you're talking about Chasidim,
Yeah.
characteristic of piety,
Real Hasidim.
they would go into a house to take stuff on Shabbos because it's hefker. Do pious people then take wages for working on Shabbos? We're dealing with a person who fears heaven, and he is not agreeable to benefit from others. He doesn't want to benefit from other people.
Yeah, from their bad luck.
But he doesn't want to also work for free.
Yeah.
So, and this is what the Mishnah says: if they are wise, they know that in such a situation, the wages they take are not considered Shabbos wages. They make a reckoning with him after the Shabbos for wages. It says in 29, when the Mishnah speaks of their being wise, pikrim, being wise, does not mean wise in matters of monetary law, as was originally thought. Rather, it means wise in matters of Shabbos law. So what does it mean they're wise in matters of Shabbos law? They are knowledgeable enough to know that they are permitted to accept wages in such a case because it had been stipulated, because it had not been stipulated in advance that they would be compensated for the salvage work. Yeah. So the Gemara explanation of the phrase "if they were wise" is said not only according to Rav, but according to Rav Chisda as well. The Gemara, however, had previously interpreted Rav Chisda's answers with Rav's question. It now explains the Mishnah's wording according to both. No, the owner of the house, David is asking something. The owner of the house is actually wanting people to save stuff from the house. So he encourages them. According to the Mishnah, he is the one that tells people to go and save it. It says, Ve'omer la'acherim, and he tells other people, Bo v'atzilu lochem, go and save for yourself. So it's not that they're going to take things for themselves. They're gonna save. They grab the computer out of the house. They grab all these things, and they end up giving it to him. But why should they work for free? So he didn't tell him he's gonna pay them, right. But the Mishnah tells us that if they were smart, they come to him after Shabbos. They said, "Look, we're not trying to get your stuff. we don't want to get your stuff, even though by the letter of the law it's hefker, but we need to get something for it.
Yeah.
So if I would be saving your hat from the river, I can say, okay, I don't want it, it's yours, but you have to compensate me for my work.
Right.
If I was hassling with the water for an hour, I'd be making $20 an hour, so you're going to pay me the $20.
It should take you 20 an hour to get the hat, or it could have went out already.
Right, something to that effect. I don't know.
You know,
But it says if it was Pekeach, he can ask for his time.
When I'm on the golf course right near the water, I have a ball retriever. So if I see a ball that nobody's around, I go get the ball. It's hefker.
Right. They actually bring a diver once in a while. He dives in the river. He gets a lot of balls out of the river.
We're over here.
Yeah.
I saw that once. Because I can't see over there. I don't see.
Because a lot of the balls, the golf balls, they fall into the pond.
Trust me, I put a lot in there.
So.
My balls seem to love the water over there.
Mm-hmm. Well, how much does it cost? A lot of money, these balls?
No, because I spend like 50. I have a bag of 50 balls I got from Walmart 9 months ago. I never, when they had the hurricane, I don't know, last year, and it was the one that hit the Bahamas. So everybody thought it was coming here, right? So they drained the water over by the Boca Municipal. So I saw all the balls. So I got 20 balls.
Cool.
That day.
Yeah.
So I got so many balls I don't need. So if I hit a few in the water, it's bothering me so much. So that way I try more because I'm not worried. Anyway.
So they're not. It seems like they're not keeping the stuff that they took from the house. Rather, they can say, "Pay us for our time."
So you would say to me, "I'll just put it in tzedakah."
Yeah, something else. But and to where may one remove these items to save? The Mishnah continues, and he may put on all that he can wear. And he may tell others, come and save things with me, meaning go into the house and also put on clothing.
Yeah.
What is different here in the case of telling others to save food? The Mishnah teaches that he may say, come and save for yourselves. And one time he says, go and save for yourself. The second time, when it comes to clothing, he says, go save with me. It's a different language. Why? When it comes to food, he says for yourselves. Because they can only save the meals of 3, they can only save 3 meals.
For themselves.
When it comes to garments, he says with me, because the clothes are fit for him all day, which means he may change many times in the course of the single day, therefore he may tell the neighbors to save for him. So clothing is no limit, because a guy is allowed to change the clothes every 2 minutes on Shabbos. He can say, I want to change a different shirt, I want to put a different pants on. So it's not limited to 3. With food, he says, Atzilu lochem, because it's for you. With clothing, it's for me, because I'm allowed to save as many as I want, because I'm allowed to change I'm allowed to change clothes as much as I want on Shabbos. You can decide that on Shabbos, every 10 minutes you change a shirt.
Yeah, right.
Doesn't say that anywhere that you're not allowed to put a new shirt on Shabbos.
Yeah, sometimes you get dirty. It's hot.
Yeah.
Like you probably could put on a couple of shirts a day.
One may put on clothes, take them out, take them off, and return, put on other clothes and take them out, take them off. Afilu kol hayom kulo. It can do it all day long, the entire day. Div Rabbi Meir, these are the words of Meir. Rabbi Yossi Emer Shmenas Kelim. Rabbi Yossi says there is a limit, 18 garments. What are the 18 kelim, 18 garments? He says, Ve'elam Shmenas Kelim, Kteren Unkilu Funda, a cloak, an outer coat, and an outer belt. Kabel Shepishtan V'choluk, a linen doublet, tunic, v'apilios, a robe, maferes, kerchief, shne sparkin, shne minolim, shne anpilos, shne pargid, chayu shemoisno, koresh b'roisha, the hat on his head, v'sudu shebetzavo, and a scarf around his neck. To fully dress him, 18 different items. Rabbi Shimon ben Nana say, me person gidi. This Mishnah discusses what may be done to contain a fire. If you want to stop the fire, you're not allowed to put out the fire, but you're allowed to, around the fire, to put different things that would stop the fire from progressing.
Right.
One may spread a kid's hide al gabe sheido table migdash over a carriage, trunk, or closet in which the fire has taken hold. Because the hide singes, but does not burn.
When he said over, so the fire is on, let's say they've shrunk, it's easier to... So,
No, because it starts to catch, let's say, the table. So the other part of the table, he puts
so
the...
here's the burning trunk, and here's the table. So I'm putting the hide over here on the desk, not on the fire.
Not directly on the fire, but...
okay, all right, good.
And we make a partition in the path of the fire with all kinds of vessels, whether full or empty, so that the fire should not be able to pass beyond. Rabbi Yossi prohibits doing so with Rabbi Yossi prohibits doing so with new earthenware vessels filled with water. Why? Because they cannot withstand the fire. When they burst and thereby extinguish the fire. So if you put the earthenware vessel full of water, that it's new.
It's too cute. You're being too cute.
Right. It's too obvious because it's going to burst,
right, so,
and water will come out and put out the fire. A cloak in which a fire has taken hold on one side, which has begun to smolder.
On one side you got a big thing, so on the second side you put the water. Okay.
Let's see. We may place water on it on the other side. In kovsa, and if the fire is thereby extinguished, it is extinguished, and one has not violated any prohibition. They challenge this ruling from a bison. A cloak in which a fire has taken hold on one side. Poishto miskasebo, one may unfold it and cover himself with it. Ve'im kovso, and if the fire is thereby extinguished, it is extinguished. And likewise a Torah scroll in which the fire has taken hold, God forbid. One may unroll it and read it, and if the fire is thereby extinguished, it is extinguished. The vice permits dealing with the fire only in this more indirect manner, but not by placing water on the other side of the cloak. How then can Rabbi Yehuda permits putting...
I like to see that trick. Of reading the Torah once it was on fire.
No, opening it might cause it to...
Okay, so
spreading it open. Oh, the Amar Rabbi Shimon ben Nanos. Rabbi Yehuda stated in his ruling in accordance with Rabbi Shimon ben Nanos of our Mishnah, who permits covering an object with a kid's hide to prevent the fire from spreading over it. Eimar the Omar Rishon Menashe Amitay, because it singes and prevents the fire from spreading further. Garam kibui mioma. Did he ever say that it is permitted to actually cause the extinguishment of the fires? Rabbi Yehuda says in the name of Rav. Was in ein midektani seifa. Rabbi Shimon Menashe does indeed permits causing extinguishment. For the end of the Mishnah teaches Rabbi Yossi prohibits making a partition with new earthenware vessels filled with water. Because they cannot withstand the fire, and they burst open and thereby extinguish the fire. Miklal the Tana Kama Shori. We may infer from this that the Tana Kama, Rabbi Shimon ben Nanas, who disputes Rabbi Yossi, permits even the use of new earthenware filled with water, though they may burst and extinguish the fire. If a lamp is lit on top of a board, one may shake the board and the lamp fall down. And if the lamp is thereby extinguished, it is extinguished. The Academy of Rabbi Yanai said, the rabbis taught that one may shake off the lamp and carry the board only in a case where one forgets and unintentionally leaves the lamp on the board before the Shabbos. But when one intentionally leaves the lamp on top of the board to be there for the Shabbos, the board has become a base, bosses the davar also, a base to a forbidden object, to muktzah, and thus forbidden itself. The base itself is now forbidden. Consequently, one would not be allowed to move or shake the board. So the Gemara cites another brayso, Tana ner shachra deles. If a lamp stands behind a door, one may open and shut the door in the ordinary way. And if the flame is thereby extinguished, it is extinguished. Again, we see example after example of indirect extinguishing of the fire. Rav condemned this ruling. He didn't agree with it. Why did Rav condemn this ruling? Maybe Rav holds in accordance with Rabbi Yehuda. What did Rabbi Yehuda say? That unintentional act is prohibited. Indirect act is prohibited also. But Tana Keton like Rabbi Shimon, whereas the Tana taught this brayso according to Rabbi Shimon ben Nanas, who maintains that unintentional act is permitted. How can this be? Rav sides with Rabbi Yehuda. Called the Sonic Rabbi Shimon Meilat Loitlo. Is that a reason for him to condemn anyone who teaches a brayso in accordance with Rabbi Shimon? Rabbi Shimon made it. So in this instance, he said to him, even Rabbi Shimon concedes that one may not open and shut the door. Because Abai and Rav both said, Rabbi Shimon concedes, he agrees that one is liable in a case of inevitable consequence. Inevitable consequence is psik reisha, that's like cutting off the head, and the animal's not going to die. Obviously, it's going to happen. So it's inevitable. You're going to extinguish the fire, and therefore it should be prohibited. The brayso is at odds with both Rabbi Yehuda and Rabbi Shimon's opinions, and Rav therefore condemned anyone who follows its ruling. 120b2. Amar Rabbi Yehuda Pesach Adam Delis Keneged Medur B'Shabbos. A person may open the door opposite a hearth fire on the Shabbos.
You know what that is?
Big fire.
Yeah, no, in a fireplace.
It's like a bonfire.
In a fireplace.
Yeah.
So
Medura is a
right.
big
So
flame.
back in the day, they used it to heat the place when it was cold.
Even though, okay, so it's almost like a fireplace.
It is.
So even though wind blowing in through the door fans the fire,
Right.
fanning the fire can increase it also.
Yeah. True.
Maybe that was the intention.
That could be.
Thereby making it burn more intensely, you see?
It's not cool.
Look at 11. He says that this is the purpose.
Yeah. So,
Making it burn more intensely.
right. As a large fire is found in the fireplace.
So, the Mayaskina, with what are we dealing with? Lo italaba. So Abaye also condemned this.
Amen.
Mayaskina, Ilaim Buach Metsuyo, if we'll say cases in an ordinary wind is blowing outdoors. My time of the mandos. What is the reasoning of Abaye who prohibits opening the door? An ordinary wind blowing through a door does not commonly accelerate a fire, and it is certainly not inevitable that it will do so. And if we're dealing with an extraordinary wind, unusual wind, my time of the man showed, what is the reasoning of the one who permits this? An unusually strong wind will certainly fan the fire. We're actually dealing with a case of ordinary wind. Mars of a gazrin on one master Abaye, however, holds that we decree a prohibition even in this case, so that someone should not think it is permissible to open the door even when a strong wind blows. Because if you say ordinary wind, people will open the door also when extraordinary wind are out there to fan their fire, to increase and accelerate the fireplace. And the other master of Yehuda holds that we do not decree such a prohibition. We make a partition in the path of the fire with all kinds of vessels, whether full or empty. Rabbi Yossi prohibits doing so with new earthenware vessels filled with water because they cannot withstand the fire and they burst and extinguish the fire. Is this to say that the rabbis, Rabbi Shimon ben Nanas, hold that causing extinguishment is permitted? Meaning it's not direct extinguishment, but causing extinguishment is permitted.
Know that you're doing it.
Rabbi Yossi holds that causing extinguishment is prohibited. But we heard the opposite, the reverse. The one may make a partition in the path of the fire with empty vessels, and with full ones that are not prone to break when exposed to fire. And these are the full ones that are not prone to break. Claim atoches metal vessels. Even the earthenware vessels of kfar shichin and kfar chananya are not prone to break. Both the rabbis, the Tanakama and Rabbi Yossi agrees that it is prohibited to cause extinguishment. However, in a reversal of their positions in the Mishnah, Rabbi Yossi is more lenient, and the rabbis, in this regard, allowing the use of even certain earthenware vessels. And if you will say that we should reverse their positions in our Mishnah, revise the Mishnah so that Rabbi Yossi is the one who permits the use of all vessels, while the rabbis are the one who forbid using new earthenware. Rabbi Yossi in the Braisa argues that the earthenware vessels of kfar shichin and kfar chananya should also be permitted. He says this only according to the position of the rabbis, for he himself permits the use of all vessels. This cannot be, as the Gemara will explain now. Umi motzis apchos lo. Can you indeed reverse the opinion recorded in the Mishnah? Rabba Techlifa said in the name of Rab Mantana Gram Kibui also. Who is the Tana that holds that causing extinguishment is prohibited? Rabbi Yossi. it is clear that the opinion of our Mishnah are corrected as stated. We're going to 120b3. Whether you should indeed not reverse the positions in the Mishnah, but maintain that reading as we have it. Indeed, the entire Vaisa reflects the opinion of Rabbi Yossi. There is the text is deficient, and this is how it should read. One may make a partition with empty vessels and full ones that are not prone to break. And these are the vessels that are not prone to break. Metal vessels. And earthenware vessels that are made in Kfar Shichin and Kfar Chananya are also considered not prone to break. That's what Rabbi Yossi told us, that these vessels that are coming from Kfar Shichin and Kfar Chananya are not prone to break. We contrast this opinion of the rabbis with the rabbi's opinion in the following Vaisa. And contrast this opinion of Rabbi Yossi here with Rabbi Yossi's opinion there, and note the contradiction in both cases. The Tanya, if a person had the name of God written on his skin, tattoo, on his skin, but the name of God,
that's a big no-no.
he should not wash or anoint that area, since he will thereby erase the name of God, which is prohibited. So that's not a tattoo. That's just he wrote it with a pen.
Okay.
So the problem is you're not allowed to erase the name of God.
Right.
So how do you wash you can't wash your hands now. Because you wash your hands, you're going to erase the name of God.
This is a stupid person.
You're right. It's stupidity to begin with, to write it on your hand. But if you already did, you should now wash or anoint that area, since you will thereby erase the name of God, which is prohibited. And he should not stand in a filthy place. He has the name of God on him. But if a mitzvah-related immersion came his way, which means to render a person toil, any conditions of tumah, he should not wash or anoint that area, and he should not stand in a filthy place. If a mitzvah-related immersion came his way, you should wrap a blade of reed grass over the name, and then descend into the mikvah and immerse himself. Rabbi Yossi says, actually he may descend and immerse himself in the ordinary way, without tying a blade of reed grass around it, as long as he does not rub the name itself. Rabbi Yossi permits this because he is not erasing the name directly, but merely causing it to be erased. And only direct erasure of a name, for example, by rubbing it in the water, is forbidden. We see in this Vaisa that Rabbi Yossi permits causing something forbidden to happen as long as one does not do it directly, whereas it is the rabbis who forbid it, a reversal of their positions in regard to extinguishment. The Gemara suggests distinction that would reconcile Rabbi Yossi's opinion. And you shall obliterate their names from that place. You shall not do so to Hashem your God. Since the pasuk specifies that we should not do this, we may derive it is only doing a direct erasure that is prohibited. Giromo, you're not trying to erase, you're trying to clean yourself. Giromo shori, but causing erasure is permitted, meaning it's indirect. You shall not do any melacha, and we should therefore derive maybe we're allowed to do melacha on Shabbos, indirect. It says lo yisasu melacha, don't do melacha. Like it says, don't do it to the name of Hashem.
Yeah.
To erase the name of God. So indirect erasure is permitted. So indirect malacha should also be prohibited. It's indirect. I push the button, the light turns on. I didn't turn on the light. I didn't connect the wires.
Right.
I just hit the button.
Right.
So the Gemara now 120b4.
Oh, I see. All right. I was looking at the last paragraph.
No, I didn't do the last paragraph yet.
On 120b3, right?
Yeah.
Right.
So the Gemara concedes that the causation of malacha must be permitted on the biblical level, and explain that Rabbi Yossi prohibits causing extinguishment for other reasons. It says because a person is in turmoil, he's overwhelmed now. He's crazy. He's threatened the loss of his property.
Right.
If you permit him to cause extinguishment, he will come to extinguish it directly.
True.
Rabbi Yossi therefore prohibits causing a fire extinguishment.
Okay.
Now we're going to 120b4. It's a challenge from one opinion of the rabbis to another. If in a case of where a person is in turmoil over the threatened loss of his property, and there is therefore reason to impose stringencies upon him, the rabbis nevertheless permitted him to cause the fire extinguishment. Here, where the person is not in turmoil concerning the name on his skin,
Morning.
Yeah.
Good morning.
Go over there. Take it. It's his package.
Okay, I'll take it.
Okay. I'm waiting for laser. After I don't have time.
I understand.
A good Shabbos.
Good Shabbos. Good Shabbos.
So the Gemara says a kal v'chomer. If in a case where a person is in turmoil, is afraid to lose his property, we're giving him a permission. We're lenient about it. We're telling him that he can extinguish the fire in a indirect way. Where the person is not in turmoil concerning the name on his skin, should the rabbis not surely permit him to cause the erasure? The previous question assumes that the reason the rabbis require the use of a reed grass covering over the name is to prevent its erasure. The Gemara answers the question by rejecting this premise. And do you really think that the rabbis require the covering of the name of God so as to prevent the name's erasure? That cannot be, as we will now prove. Hai gemi echidami. Let this blade of reed grass, how is it fastened so as to protect the name against erasure?
Right.
If it is tied tightly over the name, it constitutes interposition. You can't toiva like this. That would invalidate the immersion. And if it is not tied tightly, water will enter beneath it, and the grass will not protect the name from being erased. So whatever you do, it's not good.
Yeah.
So if you're concerned about an interposition, then consider it an interposition simply because of the ink forming the name. The Gemara answers this objection. Belacha, we are dealing with moist ink, which is not deemed an interposition. The Tanya. Hadom v'adyei hadvash v'achol. Blood, ink, honey, and milk. Yeveishin choitzasim. When they are dry, they constitute an interposition. Lachim ein choitzasim. When they are moist, they do not constitute an interposition. If not for the grass tied around the name, there would be no interposition. Mikol mokim kasha. In any case, the problem raised is still difficult. Why do the rabbis require the reed grass covering? What purpose does it serve? Because of this question, the Gemara is forced to explain the need for the covering, the dispute between the rabbis and Rabbi Yossi in a completely different way. No, tattoo is not really an interposition, and ink is not interposition. Tattoo has its own problems,
Right.
its own issue. But meaning, if you write the name of God on your hand with a pencil, with a pen, right? Ink, you just write it, and now you need to go to the mikvah.
Right.
So if you put something to cover it, it's chatzitza,
Right.
interposition.
Right.
But if you don't put it tightly, the name will be erased.
Right.
So whatever you do is going to be a problem.
Right.
Chatzitza is not, but tattoo itself is not chatzitza because it's inside the skin.
Right.
A woman that has a tattoo still go to the mikvah.
Yeah.
Doesn't have a problem going to the mikvah.
Well, I seen guys when I went to the mikvah. I
Yeah.
seen guys they were about shuvas and they did it
Yeah.
before and whatever.
If you're concerned about interposition, should you then consider an interposition because of the ink forming the name? The Gemara says, "Belacha." We're dealing with moist ink, which is not deemed an interposition. The Tanya, for it was taught in Beit Adam v'Adir Edvasha Cholov, blood, ink, honey, and milk. Yeveshin choitzitzim. If they are dry, they constitute an interposition. Lachim and choitzim moist, they do not constitute an interposition. If not for the grass tied around the name, there would be no interposition. In any case, the problem raised is still difficult. Why do the rabbis require the reed grass covering? What purpose does it serve? Because of this question, the Gemara is forced to explain the need for the covering. And the dispute between the rabbis and Rabbi Yossi is completely different way. This is the reasoning of the rabbis. The Kasavri also lamud b'fnei Hashem or. They hold it is forbidden to stand before the name of God, while naked.
So no showers for this guy.
Since a person must immerse in a mikvah naked, the rabbis required him to cover the name with a loose fitting covering. Mikra de Rabbi Yossi, sovar mutar lamud b'fnei Hashem or. This implies that Rabbi Yossi, who does not require a covering, hold that it is permitted to stand before a name of God while naked. How can this be? The Manach Yedei law, indeed, Rabbi Yossi too forbids this. He permits the man to immerse without covering, because he can instead place his hand over the name to cover it. If so, according to the rabbis, he can also place his hand and cover it. Why then do they require him to cover the name with a blade of reed grass? Because sometimes one forgets and removes his hand, leaving the name exposed to this nakedness. He will forget. According to Rabbi Yossi too, he should be concerned that one sometimes forgets and removes his hand. Rather, if there is a blade of reed grass readily available to cover the name, then Rabbi Yossi concede that this is indeed so. One must cover the name before immersing and cannot rely on something to keep his hand over it. What case are we dealing here? What is necessary to go after reed grass? Rabbanon Savri, the rabbis hold Tvila bisman olav mitzvah. Immersion at its appointed time is not a mitzvah.
No.
Umadrinan, and one should therefore go after a reed grass to cover the name, even if it means postponing the immersion. Rabbi Yossi said that toveling in the proper time, it is a mitzvah, and leimadrinan, and we should not go specifically after a weed grass. This is true. Rabbi Yossi really holds the toveling immersion at its appointed time is a mitzvah. Tanya zava mitzero mitzoras bo nidot memes zav zava mitzero mitzeraas, a man who cohabits with an ida and a person tummy from a corpse. Tvilosam bayom, the immersion is by day, despite the Yom Kippur restriction against washing. Nida ve'yoledas tvilosam balayla. Similarly, if the immersion time for an ida and a woman who has given birth falls on Yom Kippur night, their immersion is at night. Baal keri teva kolem kulei, a man who experiences a seminal emission on Yom Kippur immerses himself at any point during the entire day. Rabbi Yossi says, emission from mincha time forward, he need not immerse himself since he is able to delay his immersion until the night. It is evident from this that Rabbi Yossi does not hold that it is a mitzvah for someone to immerse himself at the appointed time. That Rabbi Yossi of the Baisa regarding Yom Kippur is actually Rabbi Yossi, the son of Rabbi Yehuda. The Omar Dat Tvila Ba'achon, who said, in the case of a woman who had many different possible appointed times, it is sufficient for her that she undergo one immersion at the conclusion of all the possible times. For immersion at the appointed time is not a mitzvah. The Rabbi Yossi of our Baisa regarding a person with a divine name written on his skin is a different Tana, who is the opinion of that immersion, who is of the opinion that immersion at the appointed time is a mitzvah. We'll stop here. Buchim to you.
So I guess you're busy, so we won't do the halakha.